All right. Bram Radio, episode number 17? 17.
Already?
18. Dude, you even came in the office this morning and you were like, hey, episode number 18. Remember that. And so I forgot it. So did you. Episode number 18. And before we get going, I want to thank Michael Rodriguez. Hey, man, thanks so much for letting us use your music. That's our whole intro. For everybody that watches this podcast, you guys hear that music in the beginning. That is Emrod and his band Sound Breaking Ground out of Houston, Texas. And I want to say thank you for that. Dude, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. I've had people comment on it. People say, man, where'd you get that? I've never heard that before. So, Emrod, maybe we got to do some marketing for your band. But it's an amazing song. What's it called? This Life. So, Sound Breaking Ground. Props to you. Thanks, man. And before we get going as well, to introduce our guest. How do I introduce this nerd? This guy.
It's tough.
One of the most amazing human beings I have probably ever met in my life. A little bit of a backstory. I went through Buds in 1990 never. And then one of the instructors there, a senior guy, his name was Cowboy Wells, to this day, one of my heroes, is an amazing dude. Come to find out, as I embark on my little jiu-jitsu trip, it's the stepfather to our guest today. So I have gotten to not only gain another person that I greatly admire in my life, our guest, but also his stepfather, who I was able to reconnect with. So Cowboy Steve Wells, I love you, man. And Debbie Wells, mom, also our guest's mom. So I have another set of parents as a result of our guest. So, some of you may know I had this big, huge, massive liver surgery in 2017, at the end of 2017, and the doctors told me that I had to take 90 days and do nothing. The heaviest thing I could pick up was a remote control. So, and no working out, no training, nothing. And so when I came back from that, I was like, one thing I've always wanted to do is just really find something fight-wise and stick to it and just always do it, having dabbled in it pretty much for my entire adult life. So I went to Victory MMA, which is owned by a dear friend of ours, Jocko, and I went in there. I was like, I'm gonna start with the kickboxing class. So I go in there, and
This is a good story.
I went from doing nothing for 3 months to just put it all out there. After about 10 minutes, I was just like, this is terrible. I am so out of shape. So I'm out in the main area of the
punching
gym.
bags is all he was doing.
It's punching bags and mats, mitts, focus pads,
Patty cake.
And so I'm over by the drinking fountain, literally holding the thing up and trying to pull every ounce of water out of that thing that I possibly can. And Jimmy May comes down the stairs, and he was like, Bram, what are you doing here? And you know Jimmy May. Jimmy May's, he jumps here, team guy, and he says, he goes, dude, you got your hands red, gloves? And the men train upstairs. Well, what do you say to that, So the next day I was upstairs and was introduced to our guest, my jiu-jitsu coach, and one of my best friends on this planet, Mr. Craig Baker. My man.
Oh, that's a good story.
That's a good
Here's
story.
why it's a good story. It's because he comes upstairs in all his glory, thinking that he's gonna fight somebody and fight in a good way. There was nothing malicious about it. I put some of the smallest people I have on him, and he's getting tossed around against the wall, just getting worked, and he's wondering what just happened. One sentence is all it took from Jimmy for him to not ever, I don't think ever, right? Did you ever go back downstairs? Mm-mm. Not ever go back downstairs. So
Nope. And at the time, it was Tony was downstairs teaching. Nothing against him, because he's an awesome dude.
Yeah.
but I fell in love with the sport and haven't looked back. And I mean, yeah, it's like I can manage myself on my feet. I'm more interested in that type of contact. I think that everybody needs to understand how to handle themselves, right? And be able to handle yourself on your feet. But being able to handle yourself and being dangerous is more than just, I can kick anybody's ass. Well, cool. There's always going to be somebody that's going to be able to beat you down. But there's also this thing that happens, this confidence level that happens when you're able to just handle it.
Yeah.
Whatever the situation. You know what I mean? Handle it. And sometimes you might have to get to where you gotta keep from getting cracked or be able to protect the people that you're with. But also being able to, one, control somebody. You can hurt them. You can injure them. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Right? You can kill them if you have to, And so you have this range that happens that doesn't happen with any other martial art.
Well, the beauty of jiu-jitsu, I think, is just the fact that you can go to that. You could take it to that level. I mean, you really can. You could take it to the level of training 100, 110%, going full gas, and still have control of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard to do in most other contact sports, right? The more impact you have on your head, Muay Thai, you're throwing elbows and knees, and that type of impact can't be long sustained. You see folks in jiu-jitsu train for years, for decades, and it's just, that's the beauty of it, right? And when you can understand and better control somebody, and for me, my philosophy on jiu-jitsu,
take a joint the direction it's not supposed to go and rob the brain of blood.
That's it. Two things. What that does is, he's heard this, I don't know how many times, and I try to say it to a lot of people often, because if you get stuck into one method or one route of jiu-jitsu, then I think you stifle the growth. Right? Excuse me. It's one of those things where it's not always one path. It's never 100%. If somebody tells you this move works 100% of the time, you're in the wrong school. You're in the wrong location. You're on the wrong path, and probably the culture is not built appropriately in that gym. For me, it's about understanding the method, and the method is find a joint, take it the wrong way. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? Yeah. But what it has to be is effective. And those are the things that, to me, are
yeah. I always like how we have people who like to name moves. I mean, we're not going to name names. I mean,
oh yeah, Raul.
It rhymes with Raul. It does rhyme with Raul.
Might sound like Raul.
Yeah. Oh,
most likely is.
And the name that he comes up with are phenomenal, though.
They're good.
They're good. Funny names.
They are good.
They're
It's usually what he screams out when I'm doing it to.
Yeah.
That's how these things get named. You know that, right? That's how that works with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, as he's screaming out these names, it's as it's happening to him and wondering why and what it is that's happening to him. So then he comes up with a name.
Yeah.
And I know he stews on it too. I mean, it probably takes him a day. Then he gets real proud when he comes in the next day and has a name for it.
Yeah.
And I said, that's exactly what you screamed when I did that to you. So I don't think that's new.
Yeah, it's so awesome. So, when one of the things that I wanted to ask you, because I think that this is one of those important things, and this is, I'm always talking about this to guys, because they'll always ask me, like, why do you always say stay dangerous? Like, where does stay dangerous come from? What is that about? And I said, well, the most dangerous thing that you have, the most dangerous tool that you have is your mind.
Absolutely.
And can you use your mind to be able to, one, overcome an obstacle? Because you're going to have to, an obstacle, life's going to throw things at you. You're going to have to navigate every single obstacle, but you don't have to fight every fight.
Sure.
Because if you fight every fight that pops up, I'm talking about life fights, right? It's like, there's one thing, don't say no on the mats. The answer is always yes. I have yet to see you say no to anybody. Doesn't matter what level of person. They can be a 1 day person, 1 day military term, right? Week 1, day 1, right? Person showing up and you'll train with them, or a super senior guy, or be like somebody up at Jake's place, and guys that black belts that want to come out and they want to see who's this Craig Baker guy. Let's go and check him out, and then they get some smoke, But it doesn't matter what that is, and being able to feel where each person's at. But the most useful weapon that anybody has is their mind. And one thing that I learned about jiu-jitsu is that it teaches your mind to work in adversity, because adversity is always going to be present. And there are times where I even have to, I'm kind of like self-talking myself through situations.
Sure.
And sometimes you're just buried, you're just underneath a bunch of stuff, and you're just like, I can't see. I got battles everywhere right now, ones I have to face.
It's high-level problem solving. It really is.
High level.
And you have to, through that, adversity, and yeah, as I translate that to life, right? It's an environment that is mostly safe. I say mostly safe just because, we're out to figure the sport out and to be dangerous and to stay dangerous, right? But it's a safe place, in my opinion, to really work through some of the hard stuff, whether it's life or the daily challenge of I'm hunting a specific submission or position, right? It's that safe space. And it's the culture environment that I try to build and have been trying to build and taken time to build around to where it can maintain that safe space for people to come in and, hey, if you're having a bad day, get on the mat. I'll train with you. And I can, and I'm usually I have a pretty good sense of what that looks like for people and where their mind is at, where their head's at. And I'm okay with that. I'll be the bag for the day. And I'm cool with that. And the reason is I am very fortunate, I think, that my, I use the term cups, filled cups. My cup, I can maintain that level pretty well, right? We all have maybe the same size cup, but the level at which that cup is filled and what it takes to overflow that cup to where, people make poor decisions or end up in just dire situations can literally be 1 ounce away, less than an ounce away, right? And to me, I feel like I can absorb that more than a lot of people. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with bringing that in and hopefully drawn from your cup to bring that down a little bit. And I think jiu-jitsu provides a lot of that, plus the confidence that you build to stay dangerous and the understanding that you can be in this space. And it's a weird space sometimes. It's a totally weird space. I think especially for somebody that may feel out of shape or overweight, or a female coming into a class with a bunch of men, right? Or kids, maybe they're bullied and they don't know what it means to learn how to protect themselves and figure that whole social side of life out. But there's so many advantages to that. And it's not just jiu-jitsu, man. Like I did, more formal martial arts growing up. I did some kung fu and some karate and stuff like that. And there's advantages to all that, right? I've found my space in jiu-jitsu, and I feel like for me, it's one of the most effective weapons. Yeah. That said, I think it's a disservice if somebody only focuses on jiu-jitsu, right? If you don't stand up and do some wall time like we do, everybody thinks we're savages because we're throwing each other through the cage and through the wall and trying to take each other. If you don't do that, right, and if you don't figure out how to put some gloves on and punch and kick people, then I think you're doing yourself a disservice, right? And there's also the line between sport, jiu-jitsu, and more of the handling the situation, outside if you have to. And I think it's a blend of all those things together, right? Not just a big mishmash that I kind of went through, but in order to stay dangerous, I think you have to have that. It's chess, not checkers.
One of the things I always, like the females in my life that I care about, I always tell them, hey, you should come and
try it once.
Try this.
Try it.
Yeah. You're going to know in the first 5 seconds whether you love it or hate it. You just are. But even if you hate it, it's good to get a few foundational things down, because I think every woman needs to know how to get out from underneath a guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it sounds harsh and it sounds crass, but there are bad men out there with bad intentions if given the right circumstance. First of all, one of the things about jiu-jitsu is don't be there. Don't be in that position.
Just move.
Just move. Yes.
There's other words in there.
There's other words in there that I've heard a lot.
There might be.
Because I'm the turtle king, and it's just, you go, oh, you're going to stay there? Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, then this is going to happen. Then I go home, my kidneys are hurting for the next 2 or 3 days. I'm like, oh, I should have just moved.
Walking a little different, feeling different.
That translates as well. Sometimes you shouldn't be there. The other one too is your big thing is guard. Just don't be there. Don't be in somebody. You're actively passing or you're passed, and now you're working. Right. If you're there too long, you need to work on your guard game. Nothing. Hey, it's getting better. It's getting better. Well,
how's your guard passing?
You know what? Working. All right. It depends on who it is.
Okay.
Depends on who it is. I can pass Sam's guard.
Huh.
And but being able to not be there is a big thing. And so that is something I always tell Sam, because he'll say, hey, I'm over here right now. And I'm just like, hey, good decisions. So to me, everything goes back to jiu-jitsu because it's a big, huge sport of decisions. And I might be hunting this, but I know the difference between hunting something on you. You know what I'm always hunting.
Yes.
I'm always hunting. I'm hunting one thing.
I know.
I'm always. And it's after a while, someone is going to get onto you and they're going to say, I know exactly what he's hunting. Now, I know what you're usually hunting. You know what I'm hunting. So I know what parts of my body to keep away from you. And you know, I'm just going to turn into him, at all times, because whatever he's hunting is not going to work if he's turning in. So I'm like trying to roll you away from me.
Yeah.
But the thing is, now you translate that over to life. Sometimes you just don't be there.
Just don't be there. Yeah.
There are certain things and certain situations that you just shouldn't be there.
And there's levels and there's steps to that, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not just if I say don't be there. Sam knows what that means now. He gets it. He understands. Mm-hmm. If you say that to somebody just kind of out of the blue, right? I don't think the understanding's there. Because the training's not there.
Right.
The conversation hasn't been had. Hard conversations in some cases with respect to life. Just don't be there. You got to have some reflection there. And I think with the training and with, especially combat training in general, you can't be there. It's going to be real bad.
So it's like at the maybe the bar that you probably shouldn't be at, the social setting that you probably shouldn't be at. You have a little bit of a propensity over here to draw towards alcohol. Maybe you probably shouldn't go with that group of people over to this place, because what is going to happen? You're going to have a couple of drinks and bad decisions are going to happen. And you know what you're like when you get to drinking. Somebody out there, they know what anybody USA.
Yeah.
You know what you're like when you have a few more drinks. Your inhibitions go away. Your decision making is impaired.
Holes in drywall.
Now you get holes in drywall. Yep. You get all these other things that start to happen. And if you're in that kind of setting, now you end up in a place where there could be law enforcement involved. Now your dreams are going to be inhibited. Now the plans that you've had for your future are going to be diminished because now you have this other thing that's involved that involves a penal system. And all these things start changing when first thing all you got to do is just not be there for it, Right. And so there's a lot of carryover if you're paying attention, and there are, I don't know how many times I have had just super deep and meaningful conversations with people on the mat. Yeah. Right? How many times have I been rolling with you and it's like even halfway through the round, you just tap, you're just like, dude, what's going on with you today? I'm like,
we've had a couple of those.
Yep. I'm not here. You're just like, awesome. I'm not that fun to hang out with. Cool. I'm not that fun to roll with. Can I maybe have your attention just for, like, look at the clock. There's 2 minutes left. Can I have 2 minutes? Right. And I just like, that is so true. I just need to be present. So one thing that jiu-jitsu has taught me, and you're going to see where I'm going with this in a second, because I keep saying all the things that jiu-jitsu has taught me, and is all these small little life lessons that a lot of people it goes over their head. But the one most, and I've said this on several podcasts now, just be there, be present. Don't be there. Don't be there for these things. But there are certain things that you have to be there for. You have to be present. And if you're not paying attention, bad can happen.
Quick.
Real quick.
And I think it's a disservice to your training partners, right? Yeah. That's what we're talking about. I mean, the flip side of that, though, is there's times where you've come in, I could see where your head's at. Don't even really have to say anything.
Yeah.
I know that you want to be present. It's hard to be present sometimes.
So you see the glasses come on, you see the computer open up, you see
stuff's there. I get it, man. I get it.
I'm in a different mat over there. I'm on a conference call. I got a lawyer on the phone. I got this.
And so those are the days that, I may not say anything, but I'll just take you and we'll roll. We'll roll for 40 minutes straight.
Oh, those are the best.
Right? And then that's where that's where things change for people.
Yeah.
I think, or at least it changes that moment.
Oh, and I'll always text you later on that day. I was like, dude, that was amazing. I needed that today. Yeah. And so there's some
monster rounds.
Monster rounds, dude. There's, man. And I remember when I was first introduced to monster rounds, I was probably a month in. And I started rolling with Morgan.
Really for a monster round.
It was Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
And Morgan was, tying me in knots and tied me in knots for about an hour straight. And I remember just like, and every time I would like, the clock's beeping, chirping, Jimmy May and Junior, and probably Positive Tom, they're in another change out doing it. I'm just over there in the corner, just getting smashed to bits by Morgan.
Yeah.
And every time I would look over, he would just turn my head back. He's like, "Hey, I'm right here.
Yeah.
Right here. This is your problem right now. I am your problem.
I'm your problem."
And I've never forgotten that. Ever since then, I just crave monster rounds, and we've just always been. Ever since then, I've just sometimes I'm rolling with people, and the bell goes off. I just keep on going. Max, he's really good about that.
Yeah,
he knows.
Yeah, we've got some really awesome people in our morning class right now. It's fun. Max and I will stay way over time. It's fun. We'll just kind of go through stuff.
Yeah,
and. This is funny thing now. He's like, "I hate you, coach." Respectfully. All the time. "Hate you, coach."
I say it all
respectfully.
The time. I always say that to you.
You don't add the end, though. It's messed up. You don't add the respectfully.
Yo.
But those are fun. I mean, you know me. I turn the clock off all the time. I turn the clock off so nobody knows where they're at in the rounds, and they have to make those decisions.
One of my favorite things to do is wall work.
Yeah, it's when you and I do it, all of a sudden there's a crowd.
Yeah, people stop.
Using the entire wall or cage or.
Well, when you and I roll, it's like we'll use the entire. There's enough room there there can be 20 people, 20 pairs rolling around there.
Yeah,
we'll be on this side, then we'll be over on that side, and then we're over in the corner, and then
it's like an elephant and a bison. You know what I mean?
Man, did you hear that? You just called me fat again, is what he did.
Just larger.
Oh, man.
Point is, we take up a lot of space.
And have so much fun doing it. And we are people, if somebody was there, they had earphones on, they couldn't hear, they're listening to their music while we're training, they're like, those two hate each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those two are what are they doing? They are trying to kill each other.
Elbows on throats.
Yeah. And then as they take the headphones off, they hear the giggling, they hear the smack talking.
Yeah. Full smack talk. Well, and then we do this to people all the time. We just start backing up to the wall. Come get some, and nope.
Yep.
Nope.
Marcos. I'll start rolling with him. I just start backing up to the wall. He's like, no. He'll grab my hand and literally
pull me away.
Pull me back away from the wall. I was like, I have never seen that move before. Could you tell me about that? He's like, yeah, I don't want to. I don't want.
It's called I don't want to be there. Yeah. No, I'm glad to have him back too. It's fun.
Jackson's starting to get into wall work now too. So
he's a dangerous guy.
That's a dangerous dude.
Yeah.
Yep. He's fun to roll with. Max, he has no problem getting against the wall.
I remember the first time. Well, not the first time with seeing Max roll, but he's another guy that I absolutely respect for that. He doesn't say no to anybody. And the first time I saw him rolling with Wade, I was like, "Where's Max?" Under Wade, and he's still working. Like, no shame, he'll get in there and roll with anybody. Mm-hmm.
Hey, but how much does Max weigh?
I think he's gaining weight, which is good. He's gaining some muscle. I think he's like 160 now.
Is he?
Yeah.
Because I remember he's like 145 when he first started.
I think he's
45, 150.
160.
Yeah. For you guys that don't know, we're talking about people that. But Max is he's just a smaller build guy that is an absolute terror on the mats. But he is the nicest guy. He has ultimate respect for people. There's a hat tip to you, Max, because you're awesome. But but rolling with him is like, it's you see him. I love it when you can look at somebody and you can see their mind working.
Sure.
Rana's like that.
Yep.
Angels like that.
Yep.
You just see them thinking. They're just like they're looking at their options, and I'm just playing the pressure game like I usually do. I'm just looking at their face, and I see Angel just looking around, and all of a sudden she just grabs something and goes full yard on it. I'm like, whoa, hey, easy. I'm an old dude. You just can't rip that off, because she will rip it off and take it home.
Yeah. It's fun. I mean, again, we got so many good people in there, and the environment is just right. I think we've got a good environment in there that, and I've got so much help. As an instructor, it's one of those things where I'm looking at the other side of the mat. You're helping people out, Raul, Kobe, Devra, like everybody. And first day, people that have never even been to our class, I know they're taken care of, and that's cool. That's fun to see.
Yeah. A lot of people. This is a question, but let me go the long route. A lot of people they'll ask me, like, why do you train? I was like, I need it now. It's not I enjoy it or I like it. Those are all true, but I also I need it. That's my exercise of choice now, my primary exercise of choice. I do a bunch of other things, but that's my primary exercise of choice. And that's for me. But there's also this sense about it that I have a connection to you, Junior, Jimmy, Morgan, Max, Chris, Ehlers, and Devra, Angel, Rana. I mean, just this tribe that we have. So for me, I have my reasons. But what would you say to the guy that would ask, I've never done it, and to me it just looks like a bunch of sweaty people rolling around on a mat together. It doesn't really make sense.
Sure.
To if we were to watch a jiu-jitsu match, we would have a running commentary the entire time because we would know what's happening. I would know what's happening because you've taught me what's happening over the last 7 years. I forget what it is. But if somebody were to come to you and say, why should I give it a shot? What would you tell them?
Good question. I mean, the answer probably most people give is, being able to protect yourself. And that's a massive part of it. But I think the deeper you go into that is, and we have used this word a lot, tribe. It's your tribe. It's an opportunity to get to know. Well, let me rewind that a little bit. I've never found something more diverse than training jiu-jitsu in terms of people I've encountered, right? So we have just levels of amazing people that are brought together for this weird sport. Totally weird sport. You're right. Like, do I want to get sweaty on a mat at 6 o'clock in the morning with some people? And no, like, it doesn't sound that appealing. It doesn't sound that appealing to me, even though I train and I love it, right? But it's the diversity that brings people together of the sport for a vast variety of reasons, right? And those reasons really are dependent on what their life situation is and why they're doing it. But what's cool to me is that would probably be my sell. You're going to meet some people that you would probably never have encountered in your life.
That's so good.
You're going to get some really cool stories.
That's so good.
You're going to find opportunities to match with somebody that you would never encounter, would never hang out with, would never maybe even cross paths ever, or even that type of person. If you want to put people, I don't like to type people, but if you put a specific type on somebody that you just wouldn't cross.
This is who we have. We have a doctor. We have 2 doctors. We have contractors, general contractors. We have personal assistants. We have paralegals. We have real estate agents, lawyers, and
tattoo artists.
Yeah, I mean, one of the most gifted tattoo artists I've ever met.
Yeah,
there's all this huge cross section of society. I liken it to a buds class.
Okay, yeah.
In a buds class, you'll have like this dude over here used to be a stripper. This guy over here was a pro triathlete.
Was that you?
I was a pro stripper.
Oh.
I was a pro stripper because you're an amateur.
Pro athlete stripper?
I was just a pro stripper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Didn't get the athlete side.
So last thing you want to see me dance naked. That's the last thing anybody ever needs to see. I haven't even seen it. I don't want to see it. But if you have it's a weird cross section of society of young men that would never ever run into each other.
Yeah.
If they didn't have this one thing in common, right? So you said the word tribe, so true, and you have people that are from Vietnam descent, Korean descent, African descent. We have a guy there, Roman. Where's Roman? Where's Roman from?
Everywhere.
Belarus. I think he's Belarusian, right?
He's from everywhere.
Yeah,
He disappeared on us. Now he's back. So I don't know what he's doing.
We trained this morning.
I don't know what he's doing.
And he's so awesome, But all these different cultures and different political backgrounds, and different races,
right,
and different beliefs. We had there was a transgender there for a while, right?
Yeah,
EJ.
Yeah,
dude. I trained with him all the time. I had all these different people that I've encountered that there's probably no way that but none of that matters.
Right.
None of that matters on the mat.
We're still problem solving on the mat.
Yep. And it's family. So you probably not the place you want to go in. Probably go and just show up and just start
try to stomp people.
Start stomping. You're gonna get handled.
Yeah.
But also, it's like you don't have to really worry about that. Every once in a while, you got somebody come in that tries testing people, and they get discovered pretty quick, and they come back.
They have a choice.
Yeah,
right. They have a choice.
Choose to not come back.
True. I mean, and that choice is come back, find the humility, change the ego, change the approach. Right. If that doesn't happen, then you're probably not going to see them again. And then they'll probably encounter it until that changes.
Yeah.
Or they stop doing that. And I think that goes for a lot of different sports. Right. Yeah. The humility and the ego. It's one of the more humbling sports I've ever done in my life. Right. Just like we talked about that. You get, some of these people that are giants versus some of these people that are not. And situations change very quickly and how somebody is using certain strategies to attack somebody.
Yeah, it's good days and bad days. There are days like Jake. Take Jake, for instance, who has your brand, Subluxt Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
But he has your brand, and he's running your brand. He's doing that up in Yuba City. When he comes down to train, I love it when he comes down to train because we're pretty evenly matched.
Yeah.
And just size, strength, ability wise, pretty close.
Yeah.
And so there are some days where I'll be on the upper hand, and he's just like, not my day today. And then the other day he caught me. He had a choke, and I was like, not tapping. And then I was at the very end. I'm just gutting it out, and I was just like, gave him a tap, and I was out.
Oh, right.
I was out on my feet, yeah. And so I just was sitting there. I wasn't completely out, but I was out on my feet, and I was just all of a sudden coming to, and he was just like, "You just testing your resistance?" I was like, "Yep." In my head, I'm like, "That was dumb. I'm not doing that again," But it's just there are some days where you're the hammer, some days you're the nail.
Sure.
With some of the guys, some of the training partners, and it's I love it. It's amazing when you have that kind of people and that kind of group, and you're doing it. And I think every gym has their culture.
Yeah.
And one of the things that even inside the gym, because I think Jocko's done a really good job of just setting the culture there, and the people that come in there is a really great clientele at Victory. But but then there's subcultures, and inside of Victory, the Baker's Dozen, which is yours, your group in the morning has its own subculture. And that's the first thing that I realized when I came in there. The first thing I realized was like, I want to be a part of this. These are my people. And there's something about a culture. The culture is always going to follow the guidance, the indicated path of the leader. And things can go squirrely, things can go sideways, things can get weird, but you're going to handle it together, and everybody's going to kind of look at coach. Everybody's going to look at the leader and say, what say you?
Where's the direction?
Let's do this. Everyone's be like, I'm with you heart and soul. That's how you know you have a good culture, when they're going to do that. And that's what you've built there at that gym. And so, my hat's off to you for that, because it's really hard to do, especially when you have a bunch of free thinkers, and you do have a bunch of free thinkers.
We do.
But there is such a small amount of groupthink that happens in that group.
Right.
It's almost like a hive.
Yeah.
Where a hive it's an ecosystem and it operates that way. And that is what I am super stoked about. So I'm always I brag about our people, right? And when you do that, you're bragging about your coach. You're bragging about the guy that's running it, you know? So you've done a really good job of building that culture there, and that can't be discounted.
I appreciate that. You know, it's one of those things where you allow people to move on their path, right? They start to drift, and you just give them a little pushback, right? And then see where they go with it. Then they drift, you give them a little pushback. But the idea is, like you said, free thinking, right, and versus groupthink. And how do you manage that? And I think you manage that by the approach. You treat people the right way. Day one, right? I will always try to walk around and help as many people as I can.
Yeah.
And again, as it's grown, I mean, truly, when I took that class over, there was just a couple people. I was just subbing. You know, I was maybe a fresh purple belt and just subbing for the class. My journey has been fortunate there, right? Throw down to victory, same school, but I walked into a gym not knowing any of that stuff, and I walked into rough training. Everybody was fighting, many of them pro or competing and things like that, and I was like, oh, yeah? You want to train? Cool. Get on the mat. It's like, sweet. That was tough.
Yeah.
You know, then you have to make that decision. Do I want to do this? I don't know. That was super humbling. I'm athletic, but athleticism only went that far that day. You know, do I come back? I don't know. But I got hooked. You know, on what it meant for that challenge for me. You know, how do I peak that challenge? How do I get over that apex of this is pure torture?
So, question for you: what are the things that run through your mind for culture? So now, I mean, jiu-jitsu, but then also like starting to step out into organizations, right? Because you also are a leader in a very large organization. You are a leader for that large, and they rely on you for what. And I don't know if you can talk about it. You can if you want, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
So there's a culture there. There's a culture at jiu-jitsu. The culture there has a lot more input from other people that now you have to move to their culture. And sometimes that's not that fun.
Right.
So how do you like all the stuff that you're involved in, right? And we'll get into that. Like you love to surf, you like to ride, you like to ride motocross, you like to you're an action sports junkie, right? But all of it. Yeah, as long as you're outside. But but now you're also trying to build and further create and always maintenance on a culture of an organism that you've really just grown from an infant.
Yeah.
How do you do that? What are the things that you keep in mind when you're trying to build that culture?
It's for me, it is putting money in the bank towards people, period. I don't even look at it much further than that. There's tactics and strategies from a leadership perspective and an approach, but it's purely people. And so my wealth and what I get out of that is people. Because, you know, that at the end of the day, nothing else matters, really. People move the planet, people build the business, people make the decisions that they make. And if you can impact that, things change.
Yeah.
Period. And so the culture, I work in emergency management, which is a kind of a cool world for me because I don't know what my day is going to be like. You know, you can work down the path of policy and develop training and programs and emergency operations plans and things like that. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's as good as the piece of paper. And everybody's, you know, that's a lot of people say that. And it's truly how do you impact the people to understand the importance of what has to happen, the decisions that have to be made. That translates to jiu-jitsu. How important is it for you to make this decision? And so if I can get through to people and help them translate that odd language of whether it's jiu-jitsu or that odd language of corporate speak and that odd language of how I have an issue with this person, how do I manage that conversation? and so that has always truly been my focus. I had an opportunity to manage several people when I was first at Kaiser Permanente, where I work now, in the emergency department, and very diverse, type A, almost everybody, to be in that environment, to deal with that stress. And I would get questions a lot, I don't know how to deal with this person, whether it's a physician or a nurse or whomever. It didn't matter who it was. And I just feel like I can't have a good, they're just mad at me. I can't have a conversation with them, things like that. And to me, it was a real simple thing. To them, it wasn't. It was a conversation to understand the person. Hey, did you know so-and-so's son or daughter did this sport? Did you know that they went to this school and wrestled? No, most people don't know any of that. Why? They don't ask a question. As soon as you break down that little barrier, things change. Conversations change. One thing. Find one thing. Doesn't even have to be in common. Say they are, their son races motocross. We'll just use that as an example. Maybe you don't race motocross. Does it matter? No. The fact that you took an interest in that person's life to understand more about them flips the script almost 99.9 times out of 100. It really does. Some people are just stuck in their rut and they don't want to conversate. They don't want to move forward. They don't want to they're just showing up to work, right? And I get that too. There's days that we do. Yeah. We all do that sometimes. Like, I'm just showing up to work today. That's okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Showed up. You're there.
You're there. Make it happen. Do your thing.
One thing and this is where I know what you're saying is this is how your heart works. There are people that will be on the mat and I will see them 2 or 3 times and I'll ask you, I'm like, hey Craig, who's that guy over there? Like, oh, that's so-and-so. What's a recent one? Oh, that's Tristan.
Mm-hmm.
Tristan trains over at Norit's gym, and Norit and I came up in the sport together, and you started just telling me about him, and I was like, huh. So today he and I got to talk a little bit, and so watching you do that, over the years, there's not somebody who has been on the mats that you didn't know who they were and a little bit about their background. My business partners and I have a different philosophy. Mine is a little more similar to you. I'm more about the people, because people are what's going to make the bottom line happen in any business that you're in.
Yeah.
They're a little bit more about the bottom line than the people. I'm a little bit more about the people and the bottom line. Now, I needed some balance there, because if you're going to focus just on the bottom line, you might neglect some of the people that are going to help that bottom line happen.
Right.
And if you're just focused on the people, then you might not be focused on certain aspects of the money that you kind of got to be paying attention to. So it takes a proper balance, right? And so being a partner with him, we were never at odds about that stuff. We just understood our dichotomy.
Right.
So when I began to, so now that he moved on because he's doing something different. So he offloaded his shares, moved on, still one of my best friends on this planet. And we still talk almost every day about stuff, but he has taken with him some of my philosophy. I adopted some of his philosophy, right? And so the culture has to change inside of the leader, where you always have to be open to learning and absorbing new things at all times, because if you're not, you're going to fail as a leader, because you're not going to be open to that change. That's one thing that I learned. And when I talked to you about, we were talking, what is this, a couple weeks ago, I said, I was asking about, I said, hey, you did this thing, I don't know, it could have been a month, could have been a year ago, I don't know, I lose time that way.
That's what happens when you're older. Yeah.
I said, hey, I saw you do this one thing, can you explain it to me? You're just like, my jiu-jitsu changes every day.
It does.
And I was like, really? You said, yeah, it changes every day. It's never the same. I'm always adapting. I'm always changing. Because if it stays the same, then it's going to be predictable, and I'm harder to deal with if I'm going hard, because my jiu-jitsu is going to be different. It might take like a couple weeks for it to change a lot, but there are a few things that I keep the same. Yeah. That is just, there's this, and this, and this. Those are the only things that I keep the same. After that, everything's always changing and adapting, and sometimes it changes in the middle of a match, and I just don't even really pay attention to it. It's like, oh, this makes sense, creativity, you know? And so just being always open to change. Doesn't mean you have to be changing, but open to it, because there might be an aspect of change that's coming in that is going to facilitate and open a door to a whole new realm of possibilities. And that, I think, is really key in the jiu-jitsu journey.
It's the flexibility, and I have to be swiftly flexible in the emergency management world, and you have to be swiftly flexible in the jiu-jitsu world. And I think people do a disservice in the way they may instruct or play their own personal jiu-jitsu game and take that journey if they are on one single track. And I do. I say it all the time. My jiu-jitsu is going to change, and it will change often.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
I
can deal with it. It's not that fun when these jiu-jitsu changes. It's like, where was it? It was here yesterday.
Yeah, I call it ghosting, right? I ghost people a lot in position because I don't want to be predictable.
You've never ghosted me.
Yeah. Ghosted him. Was that your face that hit the mat first?
It was.
Then the rest of your body?
So, fantastic story. So somebody, I was like, what is
it was tear up.
It was tear.
Thinking about it. Yeah, he's thinking about it. I haven't seen a face hit a mat that hard in a long time.
Well, Raul was pretty close.
Yeah, true. Oh, yeah, that one with Raul was pretty good.
Yeah, that was a pretty good one.
Yeah.
So he was always like what's a blast double? It was like you're like a double leg. You're like fainted double leg, and so we were sitting there, and he had
I'd shoot up like half at full speed, but I stopped short on the power double, and then I go outside single if you're still there, but you weren't.
I wasn't there.
No, you were.
I wasn't there.
You were down there.
No, I was level with the ground.
Literally level. He's Superman now.
So hard that my head, everything was just it was just like, oh, punk. And I was just like, Craig's like, oh, you okay?
He looks up to my feet, just standing over him. You all right? Yeah.
Oh, man. So embarrassing.
But so that to me was that was the adaptation, because I was throwing doubles pretty heavy often. Yeah. And then quickly realized when I'm shooting doubles under real big people, and I don't have a wrestling background, but when I'm under real like large, heavy people, I have to feint it.
Yeah.
And then I have to go outside.
What do you say to people that get in ruts? Because
creativity, 100%.
Because it happens
creativity.
A lot. It happens a lot. You'll see people. There's people that I'll train with. I'm like, oh, buddy, you okay? You're like, I'm just in a slump right now. I'm just in a rut. And so my first thing I always say to people when they say, oh, I'm in a rut, is like a rut is really just a grave with both ends knocked out. Mm-hmm. Like you got to figure your way. You got to figure your way out. Like you got to, if you're in a big hole, you have got to figure out how to get out of that hole. And 99% of the time, it's going to be mindset. Mm-hmm. That's mine, right? When someone is in a rut, especially in it can be jiu-jitsu, or it can be financially, or it can be maritally, or it can be in parenting, or it can be in health-wise, or weight loss. It doesn't matter what. If someone's in a rut, what do you say to them?
I still think it's creativity. I mean, if you don't, but that translates to your thought process and your mindset, right? If you can't be creative in how to get out of something, or create an optimal moment for yourself, and that optimal moment is the pivotal transition of your thoughts. How do you do that? And then that with the mindset and the creativity, right? I get stuck in the creativity route sometimes, and I'm very fortunate that you're talking about balance of people, right? I love people, and and I also say I hate people sometimes. Just
it's the same thing
all the time, right? I'm like, I hate people. Just give me a dog and give me some land, and I'm out. Right? An island. I like the islands. I serve it, right? But it's still people. I still connect. I love connecting with people, and my wife is the balance, right? She is. Man, she's super. She runs circles around me as far as intelligence. I'm like, hello, can I ask a question? I'm back. I'm like, can you help me? Right? It's crazy. It's wild, but that balance is there, right? I hopefully help her step out and be creative and you move the path forward for her. But I think if somebody is stuck in a rut in life, the mindset coupled with the creativity, allow yourself to be present and allow yourself to think outside the box. Kind of cliche statement, but it is true, right? That find new ways and opportunities to do things. Reach out to people. reach out to somebody who is not like you. The jiu-jitsu community, like we just talked about earlier, is that. Somebody that thinks differently, that operates differently, allows you to maybe have a different perspective. And it's hard. We kind of build this route or this rut essentially for ourselves, right? We build this rut. That's the path we take, the way we think, the way we operate, and people stay there. They stay in that lane.
That's good.
And if you don't allow those branches to come out, then just, hey, grab a shovel, start digging on the side of that rut. Something's going to change.
What do you say to people that are they're gym hopping a lot? There's a lot of those people. I know some people that are they're blue belts, but they're probably a little bit more like maybe a mid-level purple belt, just because they get in a gym and they stay there for a little while, and then after they're there for 6 months, they're like, somebody offends them or somebody gets they get mad at somebody, and then they move to another gym, and then they get offended there, and then they move to another gym, and then they get offended there, or not. It couldn't even be offended. Maybe it's just like, this doesn't fit my mindset, my culture. How, like, is that bad? Is it good? Gym hopping. What do you say to that? Because obviously they haven't found Baker's dozen yet, but
they haven't found us yet, man. Put the word out there. We're there.
Yep.
I think two things come to mind for me. That is, one, what is your goal? And two, what is your plan? Those two things coincide. Have a goal, have a plan. What is your plan? Is your plan just to be belted? Okay, that's one route. Okay, or that coincides with your goal. If your goal is to be belted, then you're going to plan on going to a place that takes you.
On that, I don't think there's one person. I can't think of one person that's belt hunting in your group.
I try not to make that the importance of what we do.
Nobody's ever. I haven't seen anybody like, well, when I get promoted, yet no one even talks about that. And if promotions were never a thing, the class would be the same. The same people. It would be the same time, the same stuff. We'd be doing the same stuff. We'd be there every day, burning it down.
Yeah,
that's just not a thing.
It's important to me. Funny conversation. Somebody had asked me about stripes. Not in our class, and just in general. Like, hey, how many? It wasn't even. I don't even know if this person was at our gym, and I don't even remember who it was, and it doesn't matter. But the question was stripes. How many stripes do you have in your black belt? I'm like, none. And they're like, well, how long have you been a black belt? And I tell them, and they're like, well, you should have these stripes. I'm like, okay, does that change anything? It doesn't for me. Some people, again, what's their goal? What's their plan? What are they trying to do? For me, there are times like, I don't know, it'd be cool if I was, whatever degree that, it is based on your experience. But at the same time, to me, I was never on a belt hunt either. But again, I came into to victory at a time where none of that really mattered to anybody there. Not to Jocko. Jocko should have plenty of stripes. But it didn't matter. People were there to train. People were there to learn. And, people were there fighting, and that's what their goal was, right? So my goal was to not get beat up. My goal was to figure this stuff out. And my path was just advancing how my mind worked in this sport. And that goes, kind of full circle what we're talking about with the creativity. I've had people come to me and say, hey, I'm in a rut. What do I do? Be creative. I mean, it could be that simple, and that's hard for somebody to even really think about sometimes. But if I put that thought in your head, maybe you'll kind of go down that path. When it comes to the belts and, hopping gym to gym, you got to find your place. Find the Baker's dozen. Find the morning class. It's a good culture. It's a good environment. But, the belts and the hunting, I don't get asked, and that's important to me because, number one, it's what is your purpose here? And I try to make the purpose profound for everybody that comes in, and I try to make the drive there or help them drive to whatever goal they want.
Do you want to stick around for a part two?
Let's do it. How many parts can we go?
We can do the base we want. But I think I want to keep you around. I want to do a part two.
Part two?
Yeah. Because I think I got a few, because you're making me think now, and I got some questions.
Wheels are spinning.
The wheels are spinning. You're going to want to stick around. So you're going to want to tune in next week to make sure that you catch the second half of my coach,
And my
Craig
mentor.
Baker. My coach, Craig Baker. And so, until then, Bram Radio, stay dangerous.